the final day to apply. So if you are a senior and want to do this, please make sure to stop by the Office of College Advising and see Mrs. Tribble.
And finally, with PSATs for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade tomorrow, here are a couple of reminders. There is no school for seniors tomorrow. The dismissal will be at 12:30 p.m. You will need to bring 2 number 2 pencils, and no mechanical pencils are allowed. Also, don't forget your scientific or graphing calculator, and make sure that you know your student email address.
And make sure you get a good night's sleep and eat breakfast. If you are late, you will not be allowed into the testing room, so please be on time to school.
And now let's take things over to Ian Lynch reporting from the Mass Sports Zone.
Then comes prime factorization. This is your factor tree. So if I break down whatever's inside here into a product of primes, that's what that is. This would be 2 and 5. So it'd be 2 times 2 times 2 times 5, or 2 to the third times 5. That's prime factorization. And then you get statistics like mean, median, and mode. So mean is the average. It's the one that's the most common. The median is the middle number when the numbers are in order. So the first thing you got to do is take the numbers, put them in order if they're not. And then identify the middle one, or the median. Think about driving your car, right? The median's in the middle of the road. And then the last thing from this is mode, okay? And mode is the one that occurs most often. So think the word mode starts with an M and an O, like most often. So if I separate them out again and I have 2 of one kind, then that's the mode.
What about like
It's not usually on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Transformations, this is also something we just talked about. Shifting up, right, down, left, narrow, wide, reflection. And then the rules of exponents. So remember, when you raise a power to a power, you multiply them. When you multiply, you add. When you divide, you subtract. And when you have a negative exponent, it changes the location of your variable. If it's in the top, it goes to the bottom. If it's in the bottom, it goes to the top. Everybody remember all that stuff? Yes? I like the laugh. Okay. This one has a lot of the same stuff, but a couple of things in addition to it, okay? Integers, again, are there. Whole numbers start at 0. Does not include any negatives. So an integer includes a negative, a whole number does not. Sometimes they will have you compare the sets of numbers like that. You need to know those. Prime numbers, again, one is not prime. A rational is one that can be written as a fraction. Irrational is doesn't end, doesn't repeat, like a square root of a non-perfect square or a pi. A natural number is also called a counting number. So these are the things we would count by. If I was counting the number of kids in this room, I wouldn't start at 0. I would start at 1, 2, 3. None of you are half people, okay? Those are natural counting numbers. Then you get into things. So the SAT gives you the formulas for like all of the volumes. The volume of a prism, a cube, all that stuff. A lot of times they have some sort of twisted information in there. So remember, a cube is like having a square on all the sides, right? You can set up Pythagorean theorem using these. You can also do 45, 45, 90 triangles if you remember them. Okay, functions we just talked about, so these should be fresh in your mind. Exponents, again, the only exponent thing that's on this sheet that wasn't on the last one is 8 to the 2/3. So remember, if you got an exponential, that's a fraction, that the bottom slides over and the top becomes the exponent. Triangle inequality is what we just talked about. 2, remote triangle, this angle out here is the sum of the two non-adjacent angles, sorry. Special right triangles, 45, 45, 90. That relationship is x, x, and x root 2. 30, 60, 90 is x, x root 3, and 2x. Those are actually given to you on the SAT. They're not on the ACT, but they are given to you on the SAT. If you have a square with a diagonal, it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And if you have a equilateral triangle with an altitude, it splits it into two 30, 60, 90 triangles. So a lot of that will be application, not directly off of a regular triangle. And then you've got, again, isosceles, we just talked about parallel, vertical angles. Remember these special angles, if the lines are parallel, then the corresponding angles are congruent. These could be congruent. Alternate interior are congruent, alternate exterior are congruent, same side interior are supplementary. That's all geometry stuff. Vertical angles are always congruent, so if they make an X, like 1 and 2, those would be congruent. Similar triangles are proportional, so something like this over this would equal this over this. What's highlighted there in the purple is actually given to you on the SAT. The rhombus and the trapezoid are not. So the triangle is, the circle is, the circumference is, but the trapezoid and the rhombus are not. The area of a shaded region we just talked about. The arc length we just talked about. Properties of parallelogram, opposite sides and angles are congruent, diagonals bisect each other. Properties of a rhombus, these are parallelograms with diagonals that are perpendicular. We talked about some of interior, some of exterior already. This is your slope, your midpoint. All that stuff should be fresh in your mind. From this year. Distance, same. Parabolas, same. Shifting graphs, same. Absolute value of equations we talked about too. And then we end with probability. So if you're given something like there's 4 blue, 2 red, 3 white marbles, and you want to know what the probability you're going to get a white marble is, you would put the number of white marbles over the total 3/9 or 1/3. This is the stuff I was talking about that we're going to end the year with. What's the difference between with replacement, without replacement? With replacement means you put it back. So you always start with the original. Without replacement means it's not back anymore. 2 different marbles with replacement, or license plate, like all this stuff. These are your, like where you have to do the 26, the 25, like all that good stuff. This is how we will end the year. So if you're not comfortable with this stuff yet, don't freak out, okay? If you remember that from geometry, that's fantastic. But again, they did it in honors and they don't do it in regular. So that's one of the big differences. And then we finish with the same stuff. Percent change, mean, median, and mode. Questions on any of the stuff that's on this prep sheet? Okay, so what I want you to work on for the rest, you've got 21-ish minutes, is test 3. Test 3 is non-calculator, and it says 25 minutes. So I don't expect you to finish every single problem. If you get one that you have no idea what to do, skip it, but work on it. And then the rest you're going to show your work, and you're going to submit that one. There's also another one that's with calculator that if you want to do some work on tonight, that would be a great thing to practice. Don't stay up till 3 a.m. practicing for your SAT. It's going to be counterproductive, okay? But it certainly doesn't help to practice. Obviously, a good night's sleep. This cannot hurt you. God bless you. The beauty of it is it can't hurt you. It can only help you. So take it as seriously as you need to take it. Don't stress out about it. But obviously, especially juniors, this can help you. So keep that in mind. You cannot use mechanical pencils, which is weird, but you can't. So you want to make sure that you have at least number 2 non-mechanical pencils. Okay, and then you need a calculator. You can use a graphing calculator. So take advantage of the fact that you've been using that graphing calculator this year, and you should be a lot more comfortable with it now than you were the last time you took this test.
It helps me with fractions.
Yeah. Plus, you could do multi-steps in one thing, where on a smaller calculator you can't. All those things. Graphs, it can help, that kind of stuff. The other thing is you cannot have your devices in the room. So if you have a locker, lock them up beforehand. Don't even bring your iPad. You're not going to use it. Okay, but if you have your phone or whatever and you don't have a locker, or your friend doesn't have a locker or something like that, they're going to collect them in the classroom. They have to be off. If your device makes a sound or goes off during the middle of the test, you could invalidate your entire room's test. Okay, don't be that person. Just turn it off. You won't be able to access it during breaks. So turn it off, leave it in a locker. It's not like you're going to be able to get it and go to the bathroom. You cannot access it, okay? You can bring a snack for your break. You can bring water for your break, but that's it. So keep those things in mind. Those things will be kept at your desk underneath. And then definitely check your homeroom today. If it's being relocated, they'll send out those rooms tomorrow. But if you're in a lab, you're going to be moved. If you're in the dance room or the iCath, you might be moved. So just pay attention to the announcements that'll be sent out today about any kind of relocation. And don't be late. A lot of you are pushing it every day. Don't be late. One, if you come back to a certain point, you can't take it. So you got up and you drove all the way here for no reason. 2, you will hold up your whole room if you're just a few minutes late. So don't do it.